This Sussex Tapes recording is called A Jug of This, an introduction to English folk music. It's written and presented by author and broadcaster Roy Palmer.
Folk song is part of the musical heritage of most countries, but we shall be looking here at some examples from England. Simple definitions are not easy to make, and it would perhaps be preferable to consider some of the functions of folk song in ceremony, work, and leisure. Its origins may lie in the rituals once performed at various important times of the year. Winter wassails and Christmas carols are fairly well known, but there were also celebrations of the arrival of summer.
Robin Hood and Little John are both gone to the fair, oh, and we will to the merry green woods to hunt the buck and hare, oh. Hallantoe, jolly rumble, oh, we were up long before the day, oh, to welcome in the summer, to welcome in the May, oh, for summer is a-coming in and winter's gone away, oh.
Such ceremonies, plays, processions, dances, were felt at one level to bring good fortune and much deeper down to bring fertility for crops, livestock and people, and also to ensure the safe turning of the round of the seasons and the wheel of life.
What happened to the Spaniards has made so great a boast, oh? Why, they shall eat the grey goose feathers and we shall eat the roast, oh. Hallantoe, jolly rumble, oh, we were up long before the day, oh, to welcome in the summer, to welcome in the May, oh, for summer is a-coming in and winter's gone away, oh. God bless our Mary Moses and all her power and might, oh, send peace to merry England, send peace by day and night, oh. Hallantoe, jolly rumble, oh, we were up long before the day, oh, to welcome in the summer, to welcome in the May, oh, for summer is a-coming in and winter's gone away, oh. And we're up as soon as any day, oh, all for to fetch the summer home, the summer and the May, oh.
This song probably dates back to Elizabethan times, or even earlier. The Spaniards mentioned may be those defeated with the Armada of 1588. Aunt Mary Moses was a sort of man-woman figure, rather like the pantomime dame of today. The ritual originally accompanied a dance performed at Helston in Cornwall every year on the 8th of May. The event was very much for adults, with plenty of drink, boisterous behaviour, and lusty singing. In many places, though, the May ceremonies and songs have been prettified and passed down to small children. Even so, some attractive tunes remain, as at Cottesmore in Rutland.
We have been travelling all the night and some part of the day, and now we have returned again and have brought you a bunch of May. A bunch of May we have brought you, and at your door it stands. It's nothing but a sprout, but it's well spread about by the work of our Lord's hands. I have the bag lies on my arm, 'tis lined with silken string, and all I want is a silver piece to line it well within. Good morning, all, both great and small, we wish you a joyful day. Good morning, all, both great and small, we wish you all good day.
Another early function of song was to accompany work. Various collective tasks, pulling oars or hauling ropes, for instance, were coordinated and galvanized by singing, and would have been much harder, if not impossible, without it. Sea shanties illustrate the point very well. Some are mentioned as early as the 15th century, but almost all which have survived in English are no earlier than the 19th. They were used, wrote a sea captain, to facilitate the heavy work of heaving up the anchor, pumping ship, and hoisting the heavy topsail yards, besides the lighter labour of trimming sail.
To me way, we'll pay Paddy Doyle for his boots. To me way, we'll all drink whiskey and gin. To me way, we'll all shave under the chin.
Picture a great square-rigged ship lurching along in heavy seas and high wind. A sail is being taken in, and half a dozen men stand on swaying foot ropes and cling to a yard 30 or even 60 feet or more above the plunging deck. They have to pull a mass of sodden canvas up to the yard and secure it. Above the howling of the wind and the roaring of the waves, a song rises. On the last word of each chorus, while holding on with one hand, the men heave at the sail with the other.
To me way, we'll all drink brandy and rum. To me way, we'll bowser up and be done. To me way, the dirty old man's on the poop. Billy!
The rhythm here is exactly suited to the effort required. Other tasks had other shanties. Goodbye, Fare You Well was sung at a brisk pace for raising the anchor, usually on a voyage home.
Oh, don't you hear the old man say, goodbye, fare you well, goodbye, fare you well. We're homeward bound this very day, hurrah, me boys, we're homeward bound. We're homeward bound, I hear the sound, goodbye, fare you well, goodbye, fare you well. So heave the capstan and make it spin round, hurrah, me boys, we're homeward bound. Our anchor's away and our sails they are set, goodbye, fare you well, goodbye, fare you well. The girls we are leaving, we leave with regret, hurrah, me boys, we're homeward bound. We're homeward bound, we'll have you to know, goodbye, fare you well, goodbye, fare you well. And over the water to England must go, hurrah, me boys, we're homeward bound.
With tasks performed by individuals, there was no need for the synchronization which a group needed, but songs were still sung to while away the long hours of repetitive work. Milkmaids were renowned for their singing, so were hand spinners. The interminable work of lace-making was accompanied by what were called lace tells, lengthy chants, in which the singer's mind moved to more pleasant thoughts.
After I work it will shorten my score, but when I do play it will stand at my stay, so my little finger must twink it away, for after tomorrow comes my wedding day. My shoes are to borrow, my husband to seek, for I cannot get married till after next week, and after next week it will be all my care.
After ritual and work, a third function of folk song lay in recreation. For the same purpose today, many people turn to television, with its drama, news, education, and entertainment. Songs once covered all these, but not at the turn of a switch. They were sung on family and public occasions by those present. Most people could sing a song or two, by their own fireside, in the pub, at a wedding, and were familiar with many more. A few were noted and sought-after performers with large repertoires. Henry Burstow was a shoemaker from Horsham in Sussex who died in 1916 at the age of 90. He knew 420 songs, and to prove it sang them all to his wife in the course of a series of sessions spread over different evenings. One of them was Georgie.
As I rode over Banstead Downs one mid-May morning early, there I espied a pretty fair maid lamenting for her Georgie, saying Georgie never stood on the king's highway, he never robbed money, but he stole 15 of the king's fat deer and sent them to Lord Navy. Oh, come and saddle my milk-white steed and bridle it already, that I may go to my good Lord Judge and ask the life of my Georgie. And when she came to the good Lord Judge, she fell down upon her knees already, saying, me good Lord Judge, come pity me, grant me the life of my Georgie.
The song was noted from Henry Burstow in 1893 by Lucy Broadwood, but first printed over 200 years earlier. It probably refers to George Stool, a Newcastle nobleman executed in 1610.
The judge looked over his left shoulder, and he seemed as he was very sorry. My pretty fair maid, you are come too late, for he is condemned already. He will be hung in a silken cord, where there has not been many, for he came of the royal blood and courted a virtuous lady. I wish I was on yonder hill, where times I have been many, with a sword and a buckler by my side, I would fight for the life of my Georgie.
Some narrative songs of this kind have become known as child ballads, after Professor Francis James Child, who published a famous anthology under the title of The English and Scottish Popular Ballads. They deal with heroic and sometimes savage deeds, and the tone is often sombre. In The Two Sisters, a harp is made of the breastbone of a drowned woman and the strings from her hair. It sings in her father's hall of how the dead woman's sister murdered her out of jealousy. Little Musgrave tells of a passionate, adulterous affair between a lady and her page, which ends in the slaughter of both by the enraged husband. In Lambkin, a mason of that name revenges himself for unpaid work on a castle by ruthlessly killing the lady and her child. He's hanged, and his accomplice, the nurse, is burned at the stake. Songs like these are among the finest in the language, but they are not all deeply tragic. There are tales of witchcraft and the supernatural, of chivalry and adventure, of happy love, and even humour. There was an old couple lived under a hill, and blunt was their name. Oh, they had good beer and ale for to sell, and it bore a wonderful name. Oh, John Blunt and his wife drank free of this ale till they could drink no more. Oh, then off to bed this old couple went, but forgot to bar the door. Oh, they made a bargain made, they made it strong and sure. Oh, the which of them should speak the first word should go down and bar the door. Oh, then there came travellers three, a-travelling in the night. Oh, no house, no home, no fire had they, nor yet no candlelight. Oh, Then straight to John Blunt's house they went, and gently opened the door, oh, but the devil a word the old couple said, for fear which should bar the door, oh. They went to his cellar and drank up his drink, till they could drink no more, oh. They went to his cupboard and ate up his meat, till they could eat no more, oh. Then quickly they procured a light and gently walked upstairs, oh. They pulled the old woman out of her bed and put her on the floor, oh. Up spake John Blunt, you ate of me meat, you laid me wife on the floor, oh. You've spoke the first word, John Blunt, she said, go down and bar the door, oh. In 1840, a journalist wrote, no battle was fought, no vessel taken or sunken, that the triumph was not published, proclaimed, in the National Gazette of our ballad singer. The same would have applied for many years, both before and afterwards. The subjects would also have included shipwreck, fire, crime, disaster, strikes, and sporting events. All these featured on the printed ballad sheets which were sung in the streets and hawked at fairs and markets. Instead of the lords and ladies of many of the child ballads, these usually featured ordinary people, soldiers and sailors, ploughmen and shepherds, servants and housewives, miners, factory workers. The same people sometimes made up ballads themselves. Others were by paid writers. Many street ballads lasted only as long as today's television program or newspaper. Others were taken up and passed from one singer to the next in what is known as the oral tradition. The names of the authors were quickly forgotten, and the songs came to be considered as common property. They were altered and improved, both in words and music, and sometimes lasted for literally hundreds of years. Details of events might sometimes become blurred, but the attitudes expressed remained clear.
In Newlyn Town I was bred and born, at Stephen's Green I died in scorn. I served my time at the saddle in trade, and I always was a roving blade. At 17 I took a wife, I loved her dearer than I loved me life, all for to keep her both fine and gay. A robbing I went on the King's Highway, I robbed Lord Golding, I do declare, and Lady Mansfield in Grosvenor Square. I robbed them of their gold so bright, and I took it home to me heart's delight. To Covent Garden we went straightway, my love and I, we went to the play. Ned Fielding's gang, they did me pursue, taken I was by that cursed crew.
The Bow Street runners are familiar as the ancestors of the present police, but it is not often realised that they originated as Fielding's gang, a team of thief-takers set up in 1749 by the magistrate and novelist Henry Fielding and carried on by his half-brother Sir John Fielding. The song was often reprinted as a street ballad, with Dublin or London usually being preferred to Newlyn. The version sung here comes from Harry Cox, a Norfolk farm worker and singer who died in 1971.
My father cried, I am undone, My mother cried for a darling son, my pretty damsel, she tore her hair, saying, what shall I do, for I'm in despair. And when I die and go to me grave, a decent funeral let me have. 6 highwaymen for to carry me, give them broadswords and sweet liberty. 6 highwaymen for to bear me pall, give them white gloves and ribbons all. And when I die, let them tell the truth. He was a wild and a wicked youth.
When few people received any formal education, the ways of the world were passed on through proverb and precept, story and song. Social attitudes were inculcated in this fashion, those of workers towards employers, for example. When in 1811 and 12 men smashed machines which threatened their livelihood, their cause was celebrated in song. The Luddites, so called after the name of their mythical leader, Ned Ludd, included Yorkshire croppers, whose work consisted of trimming the nap on cloth. They were strong and skilful men who handled large, heavy shears and were relatively well paid. When rows of shears were fitted to frames and activated first by water, then steam power, the croppers were soon displaced. They fought back in vain.
You cropper lads of high renown, who love to drink good ale that's brown, and strike each haughty tyrant down with hatchet, pike, and gun. Oh, the cropper lads for me, and gallant lads they be, with lusty stroke the sheer frames broke, the cropper lads for me. And night by night, when all is still, and the moon is hid behind the hill, we forward march to do our will, with hatchet, pike, and gun. Oh, the cropper lads for me, and gallant lads they be, with lusty stroke the sheer frames broke, the cropper lads for me.
A cropper called John Walker sang this in the Shears Inn, Liversedge, near Huddersfield, and his fellow workmen and their apprentices joined in the chorus and banged their pewter mugs on the tables to accompany it. Walker was hanged at York in 1813 for his part in an attack on a mill the previous year. The detested shear frames were made by Enoch and James Taylor of Marsden. The croppers used the same firm's hammers to smash them, which led to the saying, Enoch has made them, and Enoch shall break them.
And though the specials still advance, and soldiers nightly round us prance, the cropper lads still lead the dance, with hatchet, pike, and gun. Oh, the cropper lads for me, and gallant lads they be, with lusty stroke the sheer frames broke, the cropper lads for me. Great Enoch still shall lead the van, stop him who dare, stop him who can. Then forward every gallant man, with hatchet, pike, and gun. Oh, the cropper lads for me, and gallant lads they be, with lusty stroke the sheer frames broke, the cropper lads for me.
This is as near as we're ever likely to get to the true voice of those Luddites of almost 2 centuries ago. Many other songs illustrate and illuminate social history, part of which is the relationship between men and women. Love and courtship, the choice of a partner, marriage and its problems, seduction, desertion, infidelity, conflict, rivalry, all these are given extensive coverage in song, as for that matter in literature at large. On the one hand, there are warnings and moralizings. On the other, light-heartedness and good humour. When some of these songs were rediscovered from country singers, the frankness of the words often caused problems. Cecil Sharp, working in the early years of this century, found some that he couldn't publish at all. Others had to be toned down. One shouldn't blame Sharp so much as the stuffiness of the time. One of the songs he collected was "Oh No, John." I remember singing it at school in the late 1930s. The whole class joined in to a tinkling piano accompaniment. We thought it a prissy romance. It ended with a picture postcard wedding, and the boys used to make fun of it by mocking the "Oh No, John" chorus. Little did we know what the original was.
On yonder hill there stands a creature, who she is I do not know. I'll go and court her for her beauty, she must answer yes or no. Oh, no, John, no, John, no, John, no. On her bosom one bunch of posies, on her breast do flowers grow. If I should chance to touch that posy, she must answer yes or no. Oh, no, John, no, John, no, John, no.
My husband is a Spanish captain, went to sea but a month ago. The very last time we kissed and parted, he bid me always answer no.
Oh, no, John, no, John, no, John, no. Madam, shall I tie your garter tight a little above your knee? If my hand should slip a little farther, would you think it amiss of me? Oh, no, John, no, John, no, John, no. One night they went to bed together, there they lay till cocks did crow. Then they sport till daylight was breaking, now it's time for us to go. Oh, no, John, no, John, no, John, no.
I mustn't be too scathing about my primary school days, though. I remember some rattling good songs from those years, like Admiral Benbow and Billy Boy, and there's a great deal of pleasure to be derived from them. Others set out specifically to deal with entertainment. Sporting events like prize fights, wrestling, foot races, cockfighting, bull baiting, and various forms of more conventional sport were regularly chronicled in songs, some of which were sung by succeeding generations. Fairs, too, were among the highlights of the year, and gave rise to well-known songs like Widdicombe Fair from Devon. The same county's Tavistock Goosey Fair has been regularly held every October since 1105. In 1912, a song on the subject was written by John Trythall and issued in the form of sheet music. Later, it entered oral tradition, acquired variants, and could even be considered a folk song. Here is part of it, with a chorus advising the farm worker to throw down his pitchfork and step along to join in the fun.
'Tis just a month come Friday next, Bill Champerdown and me. Well, a straps to cross old Artie Moor, the Goosey Fair to see. And us made ourselves quite pretty, us greased and oiled our hair. Then off us goes in our Sunday clothes behind old Bill's grey mare. Us smelled the sage and onion off a church down, and didn't us have a blood when us come into the town. And there us met Ned Hannaford, Jasper and Nicky swear, and it seemed to way old Evan must be to Tanistock Goosey fair. And it's oh, and where be a going, and what be a doing of there? Down your prong and step along to Tanistock Goosey fair.
The fairgoers take a little too much to drink, while sampling all the delights on offer. On the way home, they upset their cart and have a 13-mile walk back. Drinking itself has a wealth of songs. A Jug of This is set somewhat incongruously to the tune of a carol, This is the Truth Sent from Above. But then a given tune was often pressed into service for several different sets of words.
Ye mariners all, as you pass by, call in and drink if you are dry. Come spend, me lads, your money brisk, and pop your nose in a jug of this. Ye mariners all, if you've half a crown, you're welcome all for to sit down. Come spend, me lads, your money brisk, and pop your nose in a jug of this. Ye tipplers all, as ye pass by, call in and drink if you are dry. Call in and drink, think not amiss, and pop your nose in a jug of this. And now I'm old and can scarcely crawl, I've an old grey beard and a head that's bald. Crown my desire and fulfil me bliss, a pretty girl and a jug of this. And when I'm in me grave and dead, and all me sorrows are past and fled, transform me then into a fish, and let me swim in a jug of this.
Songs like this were rediscovered in the late years of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th by such collectors as Sabin Baring-Gould, Frank Kidston, Lucy Broadwood, Cecil Sharp, and the composers Ralph Vaughan Williams and Percy Grainger. Most took songs down by hand, but some, especially Grainger, made recordings on cylinders with the primitive equipment of the day. This is Bushes and Briars, recorded in Essex in about 1904, probably by Vaughan Williams. It is easy to criticise the middle-class musicians and well-to-do ladies who cycled round the countryside with notebook or phonograph at the ready, but without them many songs would have been lost forever. Vaughan Williams and Percy Grainger were deeply influenced in their own compositions by folk song. Baring-Gould and Cecil Sharp published some of the material they collected in editions designed for use in schools. Piano accompaniments were added, and at times, as we have seen, the words were doctored. After the Second World War, there was a further revival of interest, with more field collecting. Industrial and urban songs were found, and attempts at authenticity led to performances which were closer to the styles of traditional singers and musicians. The guitar was preferred to the piano, and then other instruments such as the fiddle, concertina and tin whistle were brought in. Anyone wishing to sing these songs can find many of them in printed form. It is even better, though, to hear them on records, and better still to attend performances at folk clubs or the many folk festivals which are held up and down the country.
Poverty, poverty, knock, me loom is a-saying all day. Poverty, poverty, knock, gaffers to skinny to pay. Poverty, poverty, knock, keeping one eye on the clock. I know I can guttle when I hear me shuttle go. Poverty, poverty, knock. Up every morning at 5, I wonder how we keep alive.
Tired and yawning in the cold morning, it's back to the dreary old drive. Oh dear, we're going to be late. Gaffer is stood at the gate. We're out of pocket, our wages are docket, we'll have to buy grub on the slate. Poverty, poverty, knock. My loom is a saying all day. Poverty, poverty, knock. Gaffer's too skinny to pay. Poverty, poverty, knock. Keeping one eye on the clock. I know I can guttle when I in me shuttle go poverty, poverty, knock. This song comes from Tom Daniel, who died in 1970 at the age of 80. He worked in various mills at Batley and Huddersfield between 1905 and the 1920s, and at the first of these heard weavers singing a song which probably dates back to the 1830s, when the old Dobby looms seemed to make the sound poverty knock and to echo the penury of the workers. And when our wages they'll bring, we're often short of a string, and while we are fratting with Gaffer for snatching, we know to his brass he will cling. Oh dear, me poor head it sings, I should have woven 3 strings, but threads are breaking and my back's aching. Oh dear, I wish I had wings. Poverty, poverty, knock. Me loom is a saying all day. Poverty, poverty, knock. Gaffer's too skinny to pay. Poverty, poverty, knock. Keeping one eye on the clock. I know I can guttle when I in me shuttle go poverty, poverty, knock. Tuna should tackle me loom. He'd rather sit on his bum. He's far too busy a-courting our Lizzie, and I cannot get him to come. Lizzie's so easy led, I think that he takes her to bed. She always was skinny now, look at her pinny, I think it's high time they were wed. Poverty, poverty, knock. Me loom is a saying all day. Poverty, poverty, knock. Gaffer's too skinny to pay. Poverty, poverty, knock. Keeping one eye on the clock. I know I can guttle when I in me shuttle go poverty, poverty, knock. Poverty knock was made up by persons unknown to express their feelings, to lighten the burden, and to assert their humanity. The same applies to many other songs, and not only those of earlier times. Hand in hand with the revival of old songs has come the creation of new ones. They're written as a prolongation of a tradition, but they deal with the issues of today, such as nuclear weapons, the environment, the economy, unemployment, politics. Some will prove short-lived and quickly drop out of circulation. Others will stand the test of time and become accepted as common rather than individual property. They will be changed and adapted to suit people's needs, and perhaps we shall then be able to call them folk songs in their own right.
Oh, it was a fine and a pleasant day. Out of Yarmouth harbour I was faring as a cabin boy on a sailing lugger for to go and hunt the shoals of herring. Oh, the work was hard and the hours were long, and the treatment sure it took some bearing. There was little kindness and the kicks were many as we hunted for the shoals of herring.
Ewan MacColl wrote The Shoals of Herring in 1960 for a radio documentary entitled Singing the Fishing. It is based on the life story of Sam Larner of Winterton, Norfolk, who started going to sea occasionally at the age of 8 and signed on full-time 4 years later, in 1890, as a cabin boy. He worked for 9 years on sailing luggers fishing for herring, then, until 1933, on steam drifters. He not only inspired a song, but was a fine traditional singer in his own right. He died in 1965.
fished the swarth and the broken bank. I was cook and I'd a quarter sharing, and I used to sleep standing on me feet, and I'd dream about the Shoals of Herring. Oh, we left the home grounds in the month of June, and for canny shields we soon were bearing, with 100 crown of the silver darlings that we'd taken from the Shoals of Herring. Now you're up on deck, you're a fisherman, you can swear and show a manly bearing. Take your turn on watch with the other fellas while you're searching for the Shoals of Herring.
The story goes that MacColl met a man in a pub who offered to sing him an old song if he stood him a drink. The song turned out to be the Shoals of Herring. No greater compliment could be paid to someone writing in a traditional idiom than that a piece of his work should be considered a folk song. As long as such things happen, as long as the old songs are sung and new ones created and accepted, then English folk song will not only have a past and a present, but also a future.
In the stormy seas and the living gales, just to earn your daily bread you're daring, from the Dover Straits to the Faroe Islands, as you're following the Shoals of Herring. Oh, I earned me keep and I've paid me way, and I earned the gear that I was wearing, sailed 1,000,000 miles, caught 10,000,000 fishes, we were sailing after Shoals of Herring.